Okay, hello, my name is Michael Hobson and I'm one of the lecturers on the Physical Education, Sport and Youth Development career at St Mary's University. You may have accessed some other talks this week to find out a bit more about the different programmes. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Physical Education, Sport and Youth Development programme, so you can make up your mind whether you think this could be a programme that is of interest to you and is something you'd like to study when you attend university. So, in terms of the degree programme, I guess I'm going to go through some of the different modules at different levels, some of the career pathways, and why or why not this programme may interest you. So, where can you work and what can you do if you were to do this programme? So, first of all, I think the clue is in the name that this is the programme emphasises careers for people who want to teach predominantly or work in the education sector using sport. Okay, so most people think that when you're working in the education sector, that's just schools, and to some degree that's true, but there are other careers and other opportunities out there for you. There might be some alternative education, there might be working for a community foundation in their education sector, or you might be delivering sport in schools, but not be a teacher. So the main places where our graduates tend to go are within some of these areas. Okay, so secondary PE teaching is where most people say they want to go when they start the course. Actually, some students sort of start in the first year, they think they want to go into secondary schools, they've spent a bit of time in secondary schools and realise maybe they don't want to be a secondary teacher. Primary teaching, quite a number of our students go into primary teaching, and some of them are as primary PE specialists, but some of them are as primary classroom teachers as well. Very rarely will a role in primary be just a PE teacher. Okay, sometimes you may have to take on other roles and responsibilities to teach multiple year groups. Sometimes you'll be a classroom teacher in primary and also lead the PE sessions. Some of our students want to go into college teaching. They want to be like your lecturers that you're currently taught by. They've been inspired by them, so that's something they want to do. And then there's some really interesting roles in things like sports clubs, foundations. So we know that round the corner from here, Harlequins run a HITS program at the Stoop, okay? And that's an education role for people who are not in employment, education and training. Or for example, one of our students graduated a few years ago, now has a dual role, Chelsea FC Foundation, where he acts as an education mentor during the day. And then afterwards, he's also linking players from the academy to other educational support, and he's also working with the young people after hours and connecting them with sports development projects and initiatives. So that could be another route. Now, the other route that often you don't hear about on open days, but actually is either doing a master's or a PhD. And some of you might finish this, love a particular part of the program, and decide that doing a master's, doing a PhD, studying sport and researching around it is something that really interests you. And that's a route that I've taken, and it's taken me to working in higher education. And that's something, again, that probably not many people have maybe said this is a possible option for you right now, but is an option there for you. So why would you want to do this program? So you're passionate about education or physical education, okay? You're interested in using sport to help improve the lives of people. You're interested in how sport can develop people physically, but also socially and emotionally. And sort of central to what we believe in the physical education, sport and youth development degree is this idea that it's about the holistic development of the young person, that you should be developing them physically, mentally, socially, okay? It's not just about the physical. And within this program, you'll see from the modules, but you'll also see from sort of some of the stuff, the examples I give, that we try to make sure that a teacher, an educator, somebody working in sport in this way is doing more than just teaching a sport. It's thinking about designing practices, it's thinking about designing activities, sessions, which encourage young people to do more than just develop the physical side of things. In terms of experience and insights into PE, this is the underpinning background of our program, okay? Physical education and youth sport. So that might be sports coaching, or it might be working for a foundation, but it's using sport to improve the lives of young people outside of schools. And it's really, both a practical and a theoretical course. So from this course, we would expect you to develop a wide range of practical skills, which I'm going to discuss as I go on to the next page. So what are they? What's a combination of those knowledges, okay? And that's what we're looking for. Our best students, we're looking for you to be able to develop hybrid knowledge, a knowledge which shows that you have thought and learned about theory, but now you can put it into practice. So it might be about understanding the social model of disability and understanding what an inclusive disability session looks like. It might be learning about different learning theories such as constructivism and behaviorism, and understanding how those ideas maybe underpin practice design. It might be about understanding growth and maturation and understanding what practical activities then look appropriate for young people at different stages of their development. So in terms of the program, it's really about capturing an idea of what, getting that knowledge, but also then thinking about the how. What does that look like in practice? How can I design an activity which is appropriate for a young person with special education needs, or appropriate for primary school pupils? Or what sort of practices are going to encourage young people to use their cognitive skills as much as their physical skills, and so on. So in terms of the program, well, what are they? Well, it's understanding the teaching skills, okay, we use throughout, understanding tools required to engage different learners. And that's one of the things that we're passionate about. Most of you may have clicked on this video because you've picked a sports course, you've enjoyed sport, you've found that sport has been a good route for you. But if we look at physical education, we have to understand that physical education does not engage everyone. Many of your friends, many of your family members will have decided not to engage within sport or PE at school because a number of reasons, because they don't feel that it reflects them. They don't feel that their interests are catered for. They don't enjoy the activities which are included. So part of our job role as educators working with you as potential PE teachers or educators working in schools is to get you thinking about what are the alternative ways of doing it? What different things can be done to engage different learners, whether that's based upon their cultural background, whether that's based upon their gender, or whether that's based upon their weight, or just the fact that actually PE and sport is not something you identify with. If we look at exercise in the adult population, then what we see in PE doesn't really reflect what a lot of the adult population does. We see team games being a big part of that, but in the adult population, very few adults beyond the age of 30 take part in team games as regularly, and so on. So it's starting to think about what sports can we teach, how can we teach them, and what qualities and skills do we have as a teacher to engage people from them. And in terms of how we do this, well, we use a mixture of different things. We use lectures, we use seminars, okay? So a lecture might be to the whole group, a seminar might be into a sort of smaller group where you work on some tasks, design some activities, plan some sessions, discuss some of the readings we've given you and work together. Practical sessions where we as teachers or coaches might model that practice, but also practical sessions where you might learn the theory, then put it into practice and test that out. We have placements all the way through our degree program. And one of the things that we've really embedded in the last few years is bringing in some fantastic guest speakers. We've been really, really lucky to have Paralympians come in. We've been really, really lucky to have individuals who are working at some of the top organisations in sport, whether that be through equality and inclusion, or whether that be through physical education and teacher education areas. We've brought in a whole diverse range of speakers that will help you develop the qualities we believe are important to be a physical educator in the 21st century. Okay, so when we talk about the other degree programs you might look at, as a program, we look to do things differently. We don't want to do stuff which is exactly the same as every other program you hear about, okay? So one of the first things is that throughout the 3 years, once the pandemic calms down, we have traditionally worked with schools throughout. So you might be assessed by teaching a school. We might bring in schools throughout your modules so that you can practically get hands-on. Your placements, you will go and work with schools or with other physical education organisations in those. because we believe it's important that your assessments reflect the real world challenges that you would face as a teacher, as a coach, as an educator. We have this, this belief that problem solving is central to activities. So sometimes it might be you designing a scheme of work, sometimes it might be you designing a practical activity, then you test it out, you deliver it. Does that work for you? And that's something that we believe is really important. And, finally, one of the biggest parts that probably many of you haven't really thought about or heard about unless you've got a friend or a family member who's gone to university, but at the end of this, you'll do your dissertation or your research project. And one of the things that we really think is important is that you pick something that is your passion in, physical education, in sport, or in youth development. And you get to take that into your future career. So how would you be assessed? Well, first thing that we tell everyone is we have no exams on our course, okay? We do not believe that exams demonstrate your ability to be a successful educator. What do they show? They show your ability to learn stuff and to pass exams, but they don't show your ability to be a successful educator. So we use a mixture of different tools. It could be an essay where we ask you to discuss a particular topic. It might be a teaching technique. It might be, how to engage a particular group of learners, and so on. We use portfolios, okay, which might ask you to include lesson plans. It might ask you to include reflections. It might ask you to include some knowledge around a particular group of learners. For example, at level 5, we have a module that specifically looks at students with special education needs. So you might include a particular outline of the challenges faced by a young person with a specific need, and then provide some lesson plans discussing how you would adapt and modify them to include them. And on top of that, we also include teaching episodes as probably one of the core tools we use on almost half of the different modules we have throughout the program. So all of that is really important for us. We believe that if you're going to be a teacher, you've got to have, or if you're going to be an educator in any way, shape or form, you've got to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then be able to do it. So our lectures, our seminars, our practicals are all based towards developing those skills. And then finally, throughout this, we have professional development and practical assessments as being a central element to the degree, okay? We work with lots of schools, we work with lots of organisations in the local area to try and build relationships, for you to have placements and to go to those organisations throughout your second and third year. You go to a placement that fits in around your study and you do that in your own time, and then you're assessed against the formal professional standards to show that you are employable, to show that you are somebody who can be a really, really good educator. Okay, so if you wanted to get a bit of an overview of the program, you can see here that in our first year, which we call level 4, you're probably at this moment studying level 3, maybe level 2 course. We have 6 specific units, and you can see that they've got a variety of different topic areas, okay? They cover things such as the holistic development of the young person, which is about psychological, social, and physical development. Learning in context looks at the context of the national curriculum. It looks at the different models based around teaching and tries to understand how we can apply those. Introduction to Equality and Diversity is about trying to understand the challenges faced by different learners and what we can do as practitioners to change that. And then the 2 practical modules you see below look at ideas around games teaching and individual activities teaching. So within those modules, that would be where you learn the practical knowledge to teach different sports, different activities, and understand what practices look best and how those are going to be fit for practice in the 21st century. And for us, that's a really important point, okay? How are those practices going to engage young people and be inclusive? So you might learn about football or rugby, but you also might learn more broadly about specific different invasion games tools and how you could adapt and teach a game to include everyone, but also to be more, to be more inclusive and to develop a more innovative way of teaching physical education as well. So in our first year, all of these modules, if you are a single honours student, that means that you just pick physical education, you would take all 6 of them. If you're a joint honours student, You just take the 3 which they combined. And again, one of those is around health and well-being, which underpins what the role the PE teachers and coaches have in promoting health and well-being within the school population and beyond. Come second year, you can see that we have a slightly different structure of the degree. So there's 2 core modules you have to take, which are your professional practice, which is your placement module, and then the research proposal, which is where you pick your topic that you're going to write your research project, your dissertation about. Those modules are both in semester 2. In the first semester, which is September through to January, okay, there are a number of modules which you can pick from. So when you pick from those modules, okay, and you can pick another modules in semester 2 as well, we have a variety of different modules there. So again, you can see that some of the titles seem similar to the topics that are covered in other at level 4, but at this stage we're starting to be more specific. So adaptive physical PE, physical activity PE and sport is really about understanding the specific challenges of specific different special education needs and looking at how you adapt and modify practice within a PE and sports setting to be inclusive. So you might learn about wheelchair rugby, you might learn about wheelchair basketball, you might learn about different needs such as autistic spectrum disorder. And that module would teach you about those. Teaching and learning 1 is our generic building upon the module at learning in context, builds upon that to give you some of the key skills, some of the different practical modules and some of the different designs to give you the tools and skill sets to become a successful teacher. Teaching and coaching games, again, builds upon the level 4 module, and contemporary issues looks at different questions around race, gender, social class, inequalities that we see in sport, and what role can physical educators and coaches play in challenging those inequalities. Developing creativity and individual activities looks at our gymnastics, dance, etc. So again, you can see that there's a real full range of the things that you might need to teach and cover as a potential teacher, but also some of the knowledge that will really help you as a potential practitioner. And finally, we see something similar at level 6 again. The only difference is that by your 3rd year, which is our level 6, you only choose 3 optional modules. So where in your 2nd year you would pick 4 optional modules, and you have 2 core, by level 6 you only pick 3. If you decided to take us as a joint honours programme, and that was say to do something like sports science alongside us, then you pick a combination. Most people go for half and half. So you pick half of the optional modules from physical education, half of your optional modules from sports science across those 2 years. And that effectively is the structure of the course. So we think it's a really interesting course. We think we've got some, really good, strong connections and links with industry. Most of the staff that work here have got an extensive background working in schools. Those who haven't worked in schools a lot have done lots of research in and around schools and lots of partnership with other sports and youth development organisations. So we provide a really innovative approach, I think, to physical education and sport. And of this programme, we think is the ideal programme to do if you were looking to go on to do a PGCE. Okay, so if you were looking to become a PE teacher and to qualify as a primary school teacher, but you weren't quite sure at 18, 19, 20, you didn't quite know exactly what it was you wanted to do, we believe that this programme gives you all of the skills and the qualities to do that. And following on from your 3 years in physical education, you then go on to do your PGCE for your 4th year of university. That's the route that the majority of our students go down. Some of them decide to take a year out, maybe study something else for a year, while others decide to go straight through. But that's something that many of our students go down. So if you've got any questions, you can see here I've put our social media accounts up at the top. I've put our line manager, Nicola Evans, put her email address there. So feel free to drop anyone an email. And any further questions you've got, please get in touch. And I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in person, meeting some of you very soon. Thank you.